Are you guys comfortable standing up?
Chairman, whenever you are ready.
Okay. Clear a quorum. Call the meeting to order. 12 o'clock. Waive the reading of the reading of the notice of the meeting published in the press. There's no questions about the draft meeting minutes for June 17th. I'd like to waive that and take a motion to approve. John? Joey? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstained, motion carries. We'll move on down to our presentation from Howard Maine, President of Gilo Creations, Champlain Shipping and Logistics.
Thanks everyone for making the time for us today. So my name's Howard, that's my father, Matt. We're partners in a business up in Canada as well as a business down here in the Champlain area. Up in Canada, we are pearl jewelry manufacturers. We've been around for, it is about 35 years. My father started the business with my mother and I took over the business about 8 years ago or 6 years ago. I've been in the business for about 12 years. About 5 years ago, we decided that it was time for us to have an employee down in North Country, Champlain, Plattsburgh area, and we needed to find the right person. Lo and behold, we found the right person. We went around with Matt. We looked for some space. We actually went a different route at the time, and we found a smaller space because we thought it would just be for Gilo, and we set it all up accordingly. Fast forward a few months later, I really only needed an employee 20 hours a week, let's say, instead of a full-time employee. A few friends of mine, big connections in Montreal. Can you do this for me? Can you do that for me in your space? I said, sure, why not? Year in, we basically outgrew our, 6 months in, we outgrew our first space and started looking for a second location. That being, we took our first space, about 4,000 square feet in Rouse's Point. We then went to another space our first space was in Moores. Our second space was in Rouse's Point. That is about 10,000 square feet. We then filled that up, took a little bit extra in that same building. And right now we actually currently at this moment, we occupy the full building, which is about 16,000 square feet. Not optimal square footage though. Some is low ceilings, some is like 12 clear, some is 14 feet clear. So it's like we can only get in so much crammed into that space. So my father and I basically decided that this was something that we wanted to explore, something we wanted to continue with, that we felt this was a viable business for us. We have the right employees. We've been finding great people. We've been partnering everything with local Plattsburgh, Champlain area people. We switched all of our legal to this area. We just hired a Plattsburgh-based accountant, somebody who's familiar with cross-border, who can help us with anything to do with staffing, regulations. We've just partnered with Corps for staffing agencies. So everything we're doing local. We decided that we want to go forward with a project of something that we think can be developed long-term here for us as a stable business with people in the area. We like that everybody is local, everybody knows each other, and everybody helps out everybody in this area. And that's one thing that how we sort of built our business is what we're taking from this area as well to grow a business here with local people. Fast forward, we were looking for a building to purchase, seeing what was out there, and unfortunately, or fortunately for the area, there is nothing out there. whether that be in the Champlain area or the Plattsburgh area. So we had no choice if we did want to grow our business going forward. It's a question of how do we do that? How do we do that? The one way to do it is to build a building, because there really isn't anything. And based on my long conversation with Matt Boyer, there is not going to be very much in the area for sale in the next little bit. You know, we said, oh, maybe we'll wait a year and see what it is. But if I also perhaps put this business on pause, let's say in the growth, we might hit a stagnant phase, and we may, you know, we're getting phone calls of people who would like to do business with us, hearing what we're doing for these very reputable companies up in Canada, not just dealing with, we're not here to deal with like the individuals who are shipping packages and stuff like that. We're dealing with big corporation, 9-figure a year sales companies who want to develop with us because of how we're doing it for the jewelry. They trust that we figured out the model, and it's not like we just opened the shipping business and figuring it out. We did it for us, and now we're emulating it for them. So the project we bring forth, after explaining to you a little bit what we're doing, is a potential to build a 30,000 square foot building in the industrial park in Champlain. The piece of land is to be able to build 30,000 plus an option for another 30,000. That's what it looks like is going to be the optimal building for that space. You know, we do want to, as I was telling the Chamber of Commerce last week, is we want to develop in the area. So the first place might be in Champlain, the second one in Plattsburgh, and so on and so forth. Like, we'd like to move down the highway a little bit, not just stay in the Champlain area. Reason is also staffing. There's people like I have right now, 7 temp workers who are in my facility all of last week and all of this week and all of next week. Plattsburgh area people more so than Champlain. Summertime, no problem. We'll come, but come the winter, we want to get a little bit more into a bigger labor pool, more qualified people who could potentially be managerial positions and things like that. So we bring forth is that's, as you probably have in front of you, the application for financial assistance for this project. Yeah.
So there's no wrong answer to this question. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to understand. So this is like an import type thing to it? Are you working with a broker, or are you the broker for bringing the goods in and out?
We will not touch customs. I do not want to touch customs. We've partnered with companies who do that. However, most of the companies that we deal with, like I said, are larger companies who will handle all that. They're just going to bring it. The end location is which address we give them. That's that. It shows up. We know when the container is coming, that we have to destuff the container. We know when a truckload is coming. On it, I do not want to get into the customs business. I want to get into the warehousing business a little bit more than I already am. You know, we've partnered with some local transport companies, and when I say local, like the Plattsburgh, Champlain area. So sometimes we may offer those services as an additional on top of what we're able to do. But I don't want to, I want to be, until a certain point in time, I want to go into the warehousing business and grow the warehousing business. That's a big enough endeavor in itself, that we're learning in the 2 years we've been in. So customs is something I want to stay away from. But the transport, we're going to partner with the local people. Yeah.
And your first building.
Yeah.
30,000, your first 30,000. And what are you anticipating for employees in your first 30,000?
So the way I was saying it last week when I had a conversation is, right now in my eyes, I have 3.5 employees. I have 3 full-time and a part-time employee. I have about 16,000 or 17,000 square feet that if I were to build this building that we're looking at, 26 clear, that 16,000 will optimize into about 8,000 square feet. I need 3 to 3.5 employees for every 8,000 square feet when I'm full. I think I could be pretty full pretty quickly. So for every 8,000, so, you know, about, let's say 3 to 4 times. So we're going to be at about that 10 to 12 employees but we'll structure it in a way because there'll always be containers coming in. So we're gonna have different teams. So come the holiday time too, is the same way right now, is I have 3 full-time and 1 part-time. I have 7 temp workers who are working right now for 3 weeks. If we have the ability to bring in these temp workers as well, we can always offer value-added services. So it's a question of having the space to be able to add the value added, to be able to manage it. So, you know, we'd probably be at about a full capacity, 12 full-time, with some temp workers as well coming in to work on specific projects.
My last question, which is very important, is, I see what you're asking for benefit from the IDA. But for the benefits that we may provide you, this endeavor, would not come to fruition.
That's
Is that a fair statement?
that is a fair statement.
I threw you a softball, you hit it right out of the park.
I don't usually hit home runs with softball, but at least if it's a figurative one, that's good to know.
But make sure it's on the record.
Yeah. No, and it's very, you know,
Yeah.
we get judged by our state, the state agency that we
Absolutely.
report to, that, you know, that our benefits are needed benefits and not just because.
So the thing is our big thing is that we really like the area. We like what we've seen down here. Like, I love that everybody knows everyone. Like, I have a meeting now with Matt to see something. He called you up the other day. He's like, I thought I'd have to call it, you know. I like the cohesiveness of all the different organizations in the area, including our lawyers, our new accountant, our real estate agent. So everything is very cohesive here, which makes it very easy to run a business from a bit afar. And it seems like you can find, by all the connections and all the people you meet, the right people to work. I needed staffing. I called Matt. Matt said, call David. Before you knew it, everything was settled. Like, I like that aspect that one hand helps the other. And that's sort of how I feel that we'll build our business successfully in the area, because we didn't just come in and be like, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that. We sort of ended up in this business and we realized that it's viable with the right people and the right help from the right organizations in the area.
So I got,
And remember, you're not voting on anything today. This is just their presentation. At the next meeting, I'll provide you with the cost benefit analysis and an approving resolution for the public hearing.
should Molly explain the process to you?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
So, from here, like I said, we'll do that stuff next week, but they're asking for a category 2 standard benefit. If you notice in their application, they scored themselves a 9. I would concur with that. So that's what they're looking for, and sales tax and mortgage repair tax. I think it's $3.6 million.
Yeah, that's what we're budgeting for this project. Of course, not including the land, because that was
Right.
to be
Yeah.
excluded.
Any other questions?
Thank you. Did well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
We'll be in
Have a great
touch.
day. Absolutely. Thank you.
guys.
We'll be in touch. Thank you.
I have firsthand.
Thank you. Firsthand, yeah, thank you.
Excellent job.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move on to public comment. That what Mr. Goki's on for?
No, he's on for his approving resolution later on.
Nobody's here for public comment. We'll move on to, excuse me, the treasurer's report.
Yes, IDA balance sheet as of July 31st, 2024, $99,880.51 in the checking account. $1,394,861.24 in the sweep account. $226,913.61 in the savings. Accounts payable balance of $87.50 owed to Boyd Energy Group for advertising costs. On the income side, we received $38.43 in interest in the savings account. With no other receipts. Disbursements, invoices paid in July, Clinton County Treasurer for admin fees, $13,000. Elevate 518 LLC Marketing Assessment Survey, $16,000. Side note to that, we'll be getting that back from the state. Accounting to cost for Corel, $200. Credit card payment for meeting expenses and the meta ads, $991.51. and the sweep fee for the bank is $10. Total expenses, $30,201.51. That's one report.
Yes. So I don't know, Molly, when we, maybe John, you can assist as well. The merger of the bank, can you explain how that may or may not affect our two accounts?
So in the past,
Yeah, I will defer to John.
in the past, we got to the point where we exceeded FDIC of the Twin Falls National Bank. So we made a decision to open up an account with Saratoga National Bank, which is under the Arrow family of companies, but a separate entity, okay? And, you know, we have the two because of the rule anyways. So we moved money over there. The bank has applied to the OCC, Officer of Comptroller of Currency, to merge all of our companies under one umbrella, one bank, which will be called Arrow Bank. As you all know, you've sent me an email, it's john.bennett@arrowbank.com. So what that means is Saratoga National will go away. So there will come a point where, I mean, this conversation, I mean, nothing's gonna happen till the end of the year, and we can have further discussion. I would probably refer it to Christine. But if Saratoga goes away,
Would
It's
there
not-
be
there won't be a second bank.
mechanism to separate the money? So isn't that in our audit, we're supposed to do that?
so in your,
We have that.
yeah, in your audit, yeah, right. So the audit was the fact that all of our deposits exceeded $300,000, okay? So then we set up the sweep account, which is, those funds are government backed, okay? You're gonna lose your $38 in interest from Saratoga National that you get, but money is all backed. Oh, okay. So you're really just going to bring it all under one anyways, you know?
And that would pass an auditor's review.
Absolutely.
So is really the security of the account was the biggest concern?
That was the we originally, and we didn't have $1 million in the bank either, you know, it was, you know, we could shift over
I'm gonna take
$100,000.
personal credit for
Yeah,
the. all the money.
there you go. You know, so we shifted some over there, and so we kept it, you know, well, under that $300,000 threshold. Now with the sweep account, we really don't need it, but the $38 that we made in interest.
You're gonna do that.
You're paying that.
Absolutely. I think we should cut that, let's cut that out of the county's, we spent a lot of money this month anyways, you know, so that's gonna be the difference. The money's still secured, it's gonna pass an audit, you're good.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Keith?
Keith, you answered that question perfectly.
Can I get a motion to approve the treasurer's report? Mark and Joey, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstained, motion carries. Okay, do we have any old business?
None, Chairman.
Okay, so we'll move right along to new business.
First up, we have Saranac Power Partners. As you might remember, we had to pass a resolution to extend their pilot as it stood. But they were also requesting to amend the pilot terms because we had asked for a slightly higher amount. We had to extend the original pilot first in order to amend a pilot that would be in existence before it terminated. So this is that amendment that we discussed.
So this is the bridge.
Correct. Yeah.
Does John have anything? You want?
John, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Nothing to add from me, and Kevin is on as well. Kevin McLeod. I don't know if Kevin has any feedback, other than to say I appreciate the agency's time and efforts in supporting moving this forward for Saranac. I appreciate all your hard work for this.
On to the action item, resolution authorizing pilot deviation and second amendment to amend and restart pilot number 08-24-01. Can I get a motion to approve? Joey, second. John, all in favor? Any opposed? No abstain, motion carries. Okay, resolution 08-2401, resolution authorizing A deviation from the agency's uniform tax exemption policy, and B, the amendment of an existing amended and restarted payment in lieu of tax agreement and certain other documents in connection with the Saranac Power Partners LP project. Roll call. Trent Trigans.
Need a motion.
All motion to approve. We already did. that.
Oh.
Yeah, I did that off the first page and then I read the full here.
Okay,
Sorry.
Okay.
it's throwing me off my game.
Trent Trahan, excused. Dave Hoover, yes. Mike Zerlo.
Yes.
Keith DeFoya,
Yes.
Mark Letta,
Yes.
John Van Atten,
Yes.
Joey Tremblay.
Yes.
Right, motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
So next, this was something I surveyed you guys by email, because this is the formal approval of the Bauer appraisal report. This is for the property that we have been discussing potentially purchasing, which we will discuss in more length later during this meeting. So it's just to formally approve that appraisal.
Okay, so get a motion to approve, the Bauer Group Inc. appraisal contract.
I'll make that.
Okay, Mike, Joey, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstain, motion carries. On down to number 3.
This is again, we did talk about this via email, but collectively via email, you contemplated the feasibility studies presented to us for Clinton Community College. Via email, you went with CPL, and that was my recommendation to the board as well. So this is to formally approve that study.
Okay, and that's just gonna be our regular motion.
Yep.
Get a motion to move that. Keith,
I'll second.
John, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstain, motion carries.
Just for the board's information, I did let the county know that that was the way that we were going, and that, you know, obviously it's their property and we're not telling them what to do with it, but we recognize that whatever goes there is likely to be benefits to flourish, and so we were happy to partner with them.
They should be very happy with us.
I think they are. I think they are, yes.
Can't cost us a lot of money.
He's good.
I
Stay
don't know.
quiet. No, but they're very anxiously awaiting what the report will say.
Is there a, selfishly, is there a time frame from you letting these folks know to go ahead?
They've already gone ahead,
And when is it, when are we expecting?
probably not for 6 to 8 months.
6 to 8 months?
Yeah. I have bi-weekly calls set up with them though, so
Extend your retirement.
Well, if we could be on the
6 months, right?
6 months on the shorter end of that. No, they got a job to do, which I don't understand, but sooner the better.
So hand in hand with that, you know, we decided, I surveyed you guys about doing this full page advertisement in the Site Selection magazine, just for your reference. I get some of these emails often and I just kind of delete them. This guy followed up with me personally to see if it was something I would be interested in, because they were doing a feature on upstate New York specifically. Of course, that upstate is kind of named north of the city. So that's what they're doing, and they were looking for places like ours to feature, and obviously sell ads to, but I reached out to Empire State Development, and Aaron Hines said, they're the best. Take the phone call, do the ad. So, puts us on the radar. They've given me a few samples, trying to decide whether I am qualified enough to make the ad myself, or have them toy with it and see. So the county concurred with you guys in doing the full page ad at that price. I think it was $6,500.
Yeah.
So this is the
And
formal
they-
for that.
Again, this board may benefit, and that's a good thing for all of us, but I do want to thank this board for your participation in the previous action and this action. So, you know, we do believe that the municipality and this board, you know, are partners in economic development, so I do appreciate that.
Me too. Ouch. So,
You want a motion for this?
yes, please.
Okay, so, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of a full page ad, Site Selection Magazine. Mark,
I'll second.
John, all in favor?
Aye.
Abstain, no opposed, motion carries. Got housing adaptive reuse policy you took.
Shannon? Just before you start, Shannon, so as you'll remember, we've, obviously coinciding with the housing feasibility study that we're having conducted across the county, it makes sense for us to have a policy by which we've made benefits of housing developers. This is something that is starting to be done across the state. I think Shannon can probably talk to some of the other ones that they have done. But as we now know, just because housing isn't technically creating jobs on their own, if we don't increase the inventory, we're not going to be able to continue to sustain the economic development activities we have. So this is what Shannon put together. I'm going to let her roll with it. Shannon really earned her money from us this month, guys. She was really working hard.
I'm happy to help as always. Yeah, so I think in your materials is just a red line of your uniform tax exemption policy. I think the goal for this meeting is just to have the materials available for you that way.
Yeah, you're not voting on anything today. We're just discussing, providing feedback so that when we are ready to adapt, officially put this in.
Yeah.
Then, I know I have some questions as well, so.
So basically, Chris and I used some other IDAs as like a guide and then some discussions from in our office of our understanding of these housing projects. But as Molly said, it's really important to have these projects enumerated in a policy. Like your policy had the two categories already, but those categories I think are focused more on like the industrial or the manufacturing side of projects, and housing projects are treated as commercial projects. So you just want to have specific guidelines of how to treat those projects and how to evaluate them. So we added a second set of criteria at the end that's specific to housing projects. And then
Is that B?
exhibit B to the B chat. It should be all the way at the end. But for example, some of the criteria is, whether the housing project is going to be undertaken in an existing building and whether that building is blighted or underused or delinquent on its taxes. And so if you do a project there, it will bring a taxable property back on the property rolls. It'll renovate it. It'll stimulate economic development in the county. Whether there's another project happening simultaneously that is going to use housing, for example, I'm trying to think of an example here, but so like the application that you just adopted today, right? There's going to be potentially 10 new employees, but if there's not enough housing around for them to live, then they're not going to want to come up here and work. So if that project is being undertaken and a developer notices there's a new project going down in Clinton County, now's the time to build a new little apartment complex. That way you can say, look, we're stimulating economic development, we're building new jobs, and those jobs need somewhere to live. Now here's the housing project to go along with it. So there's criteria that you can consider for that. And then we also added a couple new benefit structures. So if, for example, if it's an affordable housing project, there's a breakdown of potential exemptions for that type of project. There's an example of an abatement schedule for a market rate housing project or a senior housing project, workforce housing. So all of the schedules in there are subject to your comments. If you hate them, we can review them, but it's just to give you some thoughts on how you might want to structure those type of projects.
And we would always have the ability to deviate from it.
Of course, yes.
If a particular project was at
Yeah,
a scope that required something different.
Exactly.
Shannon, question for the market rate housing projects. So what happens if somebody builds, a bunch of single family homes because it's set for 4 years, they sell it within the first year, and the owner, those tax abatements don't get passed on to the homeowner, do they? I don't think we would want to do that.
Yeah, typically, I've not seen any projects done that were building single family homes, so I think that maybe would be a potential for a deviation, but I think the one instance where I've heard of it is when a home was sold or rented to an individual resident, then there was a way to carve out that one house and then real property taxes would be charged on that home that was rented to an individual.
Because I think, I mean, the rentals are obviously great too, but I think our objective is to increase the supply of also single family homes
Okay,
or multi-family dwellings.
okay.
So I don't know how we should
So
incorporate
like,
that.
like if, I'm just shooting from the hip here. If a developer purchased a piece of land,
Mhm.
and would have to provide the infrastructure
Right,
to build an 8-house.
Yeah.
Or 10-house development, that's what would be, that the infrastructure
Correct.
would be benefitable, that's a verb.
Yeah,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
yes, I think so.
I mean, I've heard a lot from some local officials who heard from developers saying, obviously it's just not profitable for them to do it right now, but if they could shave 6 to 8% off total cost, that it might make it worth their while. Well, if we offer them sales tax exemption, that's 8% right out of the gate, so. You know, it's not even including what the pilot, I think the pilot for the single family dwellings, the objective is that we don't want them to have to pay an extreme amount of taxes and have to hold on to, you know, having to hold on to a property if they don't sell it right away.
Is there it would have to rise to a level of, I mean, you don't want individual homeowners doing.
No.
Homeowner wouldn't get.
It would have to be like, I'm building 10 homes on this piece of
Well, I
property.
mean, I guess my point is.
And then we'd have to build
should
that
be
in there, right?
delineated?
Yeah.
Should that be delineated?
Probably.
He wants a pilot.
I mean, probably, or is that something we can incorporate that would have to have a minimum amount of homes to qualify? Like, you can't just build one house and say, I'm a developer.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, and if you're doing, I think a project where it was single family homes might be one of those instances where you would wanna link it with another project.
Okay.
Because all of these like, to do a housing project, it does still need to be commercial, it needs to be linked to the statute in some way, because it doesn't say housing in the statute. The feasibility study that you're doing is very helpful in that came
Right.
from an AVO recommendation.
Yeah.
Because that way you can demonstrate that, you know, we have the jobs, we have
Right.
the positions available, but we can't get the employees because there's nowhere to live.
Right.
That's a good way to link it. But I can look more into the single family homes and how to structure that and add that into like the next round of this.
Yes.
So you can do a pilot for that building, the
Right.
contractor. No taxes until they sell the house and the homeowner takes over from that point.
That's what I'm
That's the whole
hoping.
idea, is right?
Yeah.
They're sitting, you think 6 to 8%, but that's what they would say.
Well, this is, so.
Well, you get your sales tax, and that's 8%.
Essentially, there's no, yeah, the sales tax on the material.
Yeah. Material.
Not,
But that's what they're saying
But
too.
can you do it on the property itself in the house where you, like, they don't have that tax liability?
I
Right,
think-
that's what I'm hoping.
I think essentially it's a holding cost issue.
Yeah.
Holding
that's
cost
great.
avoidance.
I was getting to what you're
Right.
talking about. I think there should be a time component. in
Right.
there. Definitely, you know, that.
Well, yes, of course.
Because, you know, if they decide they want to keep it high priced and they're saying, all right,
Right.
no load for them, there's no initiative, so.
Right.
I'd like to see a time. component, but
That's why with the feedback is appreciated, because this is just, you know, just ideas.
In a sense, you could end up with a mortgage tax that
Increase it by like one house.
Something.
Right.
That sells it, goes
Piece of
back on
property,
the tax
your
roll, and
mortgage,
still.
well, you
kind
can
of-
you just put in there, multi-unit subdivision, that gets you away from the, single family buyer.
something that doesn't let people express.
Oh, no, exactly. There's gotta be incentive for that.
But I think as far as the
Exactly.
affordable housing and the workforce housing, that, I mean, to me, that looks really good. Certainly would, if our prime project ever comes back to fruition, that certainly would be covered more under this, whatever they decide to do there.
Thank you.
Any other feedback for Shannon on this?
Good work.
We get a lot more done when she's running the operation.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt about it.
Okay.
Chris on.
No.
No, it's not.
He wasted.
No, but I would have said it.
Wasted-
I would have said it. even if it was
You
over.
could have sent a note down there.
You have your two closings this week too. so,
Oh, wow.
yeah, busy guy.
That makes me happy.
Do you have any other business, or you want to move on down? the-
Let's move on and then we'll come back.
Okay.
We want to provide a county update and any,
Oh.
sure you want to talk about the Greyhound?
Oh,
Favorite
oh.
topic. No, I'm kidding,
I thought we
I'm
put it
kidding.
down in the parking lot where the prime was supposed
I've offered that.
Makes perfect sense to me.
The mayor has politely declined that. No, I don't want to talk about it.
Send them down there.
Just like the
Did he
question.
ask you if he can work from over there?
No.
We'll just send them down.
Anything you wanna,
No, I can tell you, what's the project, the CBIG project, which you've actually approved, some work for, right? That was
yeah,
right for
Yeah.
the site selection
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Is, I would say 99% done. Are we still
Yeah,
waiting on
pretty much.
pump station?
And a light.
And, oh, we had to redo the light. But, if you have nothing to do, and you wanna drive through the cones there, please feel free. I honestly believe it's gonna be the next commercial growth opportunity in our county.
We are actually already, I think maybe next meeting, CIDC will probably have an application before us. CIDC is the company that will be, building the new BOCES facility that is going to be the first 18 acres sold on that piece of property. They're gonna be, seeking some bond financing. And then TDC, that purchase and sale should be completed very soon. That's 12 acres. So given TDC's record with us, I imagine that will be an application.
We have talked to a couple other people, none of the grand slams like we started the project with, 4 years ago. But, you know, a bunch of singles that will turn into that fairly soon.
You know, big fish are great, but lots of little fish, you still get fed. So, you know, I think every little piece that we sell there is good.
I think I like my analogy there.
I like mine.
I think if you lose a small fish, you still have a bunch of other little things. Right? You lose one big fish.
John, fish aren't big.
Yeah,
No,
you
it's
had nothing else?
progress.
Your budget is coming along.
Oh, geez, you want that in depth? We have started, the 2025 budget process. Sales tax continues to be ahead of projection. Now, our projections are not previous year receipts, we are conservative. But we are in our fourth consecutive year of exceeding projections, which allows us the ability to bring other revenues into the budget. I imagine we will. I think the expenses will be up greatly this year, for numerous reasons. Number one being that we're negotiating a labor contract with our biggest union. And there's certainly wage pressures. You all know that out there. So I don't imagine we're being settling on 1.5s and 2s. So there is that. I will tell you that, so we've increased sales tax projections. And considerable, but still conservative in my opinion. Since we've been doing okay, better than okay, we have the ability to bring other revenues in that are traditional offset to the budget that we have not had to use for 3 or 4 years in a row. So, but point is, even though the expenses go up, my goal and the directive from my board is to keep that levy as stable as possible. We have lowered it the last 3 consecutive years, trying to dull the assessment increases, you know, to avoid the dreaded double whammy. The
You don't want my
assessments
phone
going up
call, is that
and
what it is?
No, we don't play that. No, we don't do you. So, you know, Joe, you understand obviously that we're trying to get that rate as low and that happens with a stable tax levy and increased assessments countywide. So that's the goal. I believe we're gonna get there. So just letting you know that process has started.
Okay, so I'll just move on to some highlights from my report. So the first thing to highlight this, I want to give you a little bit more information on Sarah, because since I wrote the report, I did have a conversation with Patrick Lane. I had communicated to this board that I believed that they were going to list the property with CDC, which never happened. So that was a little concerning because I wasn't sure what the plan was as far as tenancy there. I was told by CDC that pretty much the reason they didn't get the listing was that the tenant that is currently there, Sagent, Sarix's parent company, has guaranteed rent. So,
Which is this is not a owner thing.
Right.
We benefited the project based on the tenancy. So the developer is now getting full rent, but we're not getting the benefit of a company being in there.
No jobs.
So, Shannon, we're gonna have to have a conversation.
yeah, I've spoken with council.
And see how we wanna communicate that.
And my conversation with Pat Murnane, it wasn't quite as black and white, you know, according to him. He said that there are conversations being had with Sagent about the end of their tenancy. They're just not exactly sure when that is. They indicated that they have had some conversations with both Vaporstone Rail and Shooter Systems that may result in potential tenancy when Sagent vacates. But again, you know, talking with council, we just want to make sure that we're covered because, you know, we offered an incentive based on job creation. So that's Derek's. Any other questions on that?
No, just to put a bow on it, you know, we as a group can understand that if somebody up and leaves, that's okay, but, you know, it does become troublesome when the developer is being made whole and we don't, and we don't get the benefit.
Correct. Had a great meeting with the school board superintendents. It was a very thorough discussion. They did bring up the issue of, again, asking if I would help them get Chippy renegotiated, and we were very clear that that was not on the table. That if they wanted to be partners moving forward, we could do that. Or we could, you know, talk about Chippy, and it was gonna be neither. So, but they felt very good about, I think even Jay LeBrun left smiling. So, you know, that's a really big thing for Jay, I think, with this board. So it was a very good meeting. And I don't know, Shannon, if you have anything to add.
How many
from it, but-
superintendents showed up?
5, 6. Shazy was not here.
Well aware of it.
But it was, I felt like a very good discussion and, moving forward, I think they're gonna be much happier with how we are conducting our business. So, I did have, just a note, I mentioned here with ERS, the whole situation is there, but did have a meeting with Tom Renane and, the ERS owners this morning. I thought it was a very good discussion. Tom, indicates he's gonna communicate with the village. He thinks that the position that I have presented is very fair. His belief is that what we're presenting is against their law. I don't think so. First candidate didn't think so. But the conversation then turned to, I said, okay, let's play, if it is against the law to put a data center there, can we make that possible? So we're hopefully gonna have some good discussions with the village because, Tom Bernay indicated that if they do not start selling their power, they're going to be in trouble financially. So, you know, that is something that and, you know, I told them my objective was at the IDA, we are providing a benefit to ERS. Jobs are not being created there. And you know, we're going to have to take a serious look at if this continues, do we claw back our pilot? In which case, you know, I believe that Mr. Stalcup will ground them in court. So, or that's what he's indicated he will do. So that's kind of that. I think, I hope we've moved the needle forward and seeing, because anything that's going to go in the village of Rouse's Point is probably going to be a high energy user because they have cheap electric and they have a lot of it available. So, hopefully we can move that forward. And just as this is not in my report, so just to highlight, you may have noticed that Beekman Towers was originally on the agenda, or it was on the draft agenda. You obviously are not seeing a resolution for them today. They had put in a couple of different amendments to what they were asking for. They wanted to extend it to a 20-year pilot, then a 30-year pilot. If we did something like that, we would need to re-vet the project and have a new public hearing. They did not get back to us with substantial time to say that they wanted to move forward their original request. They were asking at 11 o'clock today, please be put on the agenda, and I said no. So, with council's advice. So, I'm not even clear as to what benefit they're truly asking for at this point, so, and they're not gonna be seeking bonds from us, so, I wasn't inclined to bend over backwards for a company that wasn't exactly forthcoming about what they were coming to us for, so. Questions? I think that's all the highlights I have in my report.
I would, let's assume
Mhm.
for a second that there is a delay in that project, for whatever reason.
Yep.
And then we, to the point where we pass housing, or add housing to UTEP, is that something that would have fit in your new language?
It's section 8 housing, right? So I don't think,
I want to say it was senior housing.
Yes.
oh, it's senior, it's not section 8. Okay.
Yeah, so if it fits into whatever you determine to put in the UTEP, then you can follow that abatement schedule, but I think what they're gonna wanna do is stick with the abatement schedule that they had already negotiated, they just want it 10 years longer. So we would probably just send out another deviation notice letter for that one unless the board wasn't comfortable to it.
So right now, what was on the table was 20 or 10?
I believe it was 20,
I believe it was 20.
If they're-
yes.
if I
They did
recall-
change, they did change the escalator though.
If I
They wanted
recall,
4% for the two.
I think they wanted 30. When we had original conversations with them,
Potentially.
like, a lot, like because I had a meeting with them. I don't know if I was in charge then, but in 30 years that's a non-starter.
No. It would not be my
Do you
recommendation.
recall that
unfortunately.
conversation, or am I making things up in my name?
I remember somebody saying that at the meeting that they wanted 30 years.
Okay. Was that the green folks though, or this? guy?
No,
Okay.
it was the nice guy from out of Albany, that kind of,
Yeah, Elliot.
Elliot.
And he's, I wouldn't necessarily.
Yeah, well,
He's, I don't think he's been very forthcoming with this board, so I think if, when we go to benefit that project, I would want to hear from him directly again. So,
Any other questions for Molly? Hey, can I get a motion? We'd like to move into executive session.
we have to state why.
probably a
Shannon?
sale and lease of real property.
Council proposed acquisition of real property.
John? Keith? All in favor?
Aye.
With that,
George, if you can hear us, we're gonna call you on the conference line, so.
George will give you a call on the conference line shortly.
I think, and just said that no action is taken.
Okay, we voted to come out of executive session and no action was taken. Okay, can you get that?
You got one.
No, did I get it?
We have voted to come out of executive session and no action was taken. So, that being said, Chairman, I have no further.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting